joining us today for our webinar on mastering the digital era. It's so exciting to see so many of y'all here, eager to learn and to adapt to the ever-evolving digital landscape that's reshaping the way Australians engage with online experiences. My name is Tara Christensen. I am one of the national customer training managers here at realestate.com.au. And today we're really fortunate because we are going to be joined by Jared Scott, General Manager of Consumer Marketplace at REA, as well as Claire Chadwick, Head of Product Connections. Now, before we get into any housekeeping, and I do have a little bit of light housekeeping, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement. Since 1995, REA Group has operated on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples who have cared for and protected it since time immemorial. As the business has grown and established offices around Australia, we're grateful for the custodianship of the traditional owners of country across all our lands and recognize their continuing connections to lands, waters, and communities. We pay our respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, to elders past and present. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions that arise today while either Jared or Claire or myself are talking, please, there is a Q&A section in this webinar, and so we invite you to please use that, not the chat, use the Q&A section so that we can make sure that we see all of the questions and that we know if we can answer them. And we will try to answer them at the end of the webinar, so it will be right towards the end. And I will also ask y'all to please, 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 if you can, stay on until the very end, because we will have a poll as well that will help us understand how you felt about it, and if it was helpful and useful for you. And finally, this webinar, if you hadn't noticed, is being recorded, which is fantastic, and it will be hosted shortly on customer.realestate.com.au. And if you are registered as well, it will be sent through to you too. So don't worry if you have to run out early or you're afraid you're going to miss something, it'll be there. You can go back and revisit it. Now, I think we can all agree that this era that we live and work in has been defined by major tech advancements. And as we navigate through this period marked by technological transformation, changing consumer demographics, and evolving expectations, we've seen a transformative shift. Today's consumer is digital first. And that shift has made digital relationships just as important as those we form face-to-face. Among buyers, sellers, renters, and investors, their expectations for seamless world-class digital interactions are higher than ever before. Consumers demand better experiences, and with this comes expectations around transparency and trust in how their data is managed. Over the past few years, consumers have given us feedback and expectations, and Jared's going to cover some of that in detail. What we've noticed has changed specifically post-COVID is that consumers are comparing us less to other portals and more to global businesses and their last digital experience. And that's not just for big businesses like realestate.com.au, that's also for businesses like yours. You look at Apple, you've got privacy, Uber, immediacy, Airbnb, curation, Amazon, speed and access, Netflix, personalization and curation. All of that are creating highly digital savvy consumers in Australia. In fact, I've heard that it's most in the world, so congratulations. Not only that, we're dealing with generations who haven't known anything but a digital experience. Your potential clients have never been more informed or had more data to make better decisions. So in an era of information abundance, trust and curation are key. These brands that you see before you are actively changing consumers' expectations, and digital first is the way that people are approaching brands and shapes their expectations of those businesses. We used to say that face-to-face experience was going to be your first point of contact, not necessarily anymore. A lot of it times, people's first communication with you, first interaction with you is in the online space. And so our session today is designed to help you meet those expectations by navigating the current landscape, understanding how those elements are reshaping our industry, and staying ahead of the curve. In the next 60 minutes or so, we're going to delve into several key areas, and that includes the next generation of property listings, which was developed using deep audience insights and emerging technologies, and it's already revolutionizing the property market. We're also going to talk about how we're evolving inquiry to deliver you high quality leads and ensure consumers get what they need as well. And finally, we're going to also have best practices for maintaining transparency and trust in an increasingly privacy conscious world. Now, as a reminder, Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So please use that as we're going along, and we're going to do our best to answer those at the end. And in the meantime, though, I'm going to hand it over to Jared Scott.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Tara. That was a fantastic amount of energy and a great way to kick us off. What an exciting time to be in the property industry and to be working with digital technology. I'm really privileged to be here today. My name's Jared Scott, and I'm the General Manager for Consumer Experiences at realestate.com.au. Today, I'm going to talk about the work we've been doing recently to uplift our listings experience. We're not just talking about our buyer listings experience, we're talking about our listing experiences across buy, rent, and sold that we've made a huge leap forwards on in the last few months. And the best news is we're only getting started in a very, very exciting new direction that we want to help you understand and really help you take advantage of. Our goal with these new experiences is to allow you to better connect with our consumer audiences and maximize your campaign and the listing experience for your properties using realestate.com.au. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the why. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we've built and how it works. And I'm going to be talking a lot about how you can then take advantage of these new capabilities and really put your best foot forwards as an agent and as an agency. To kick us off though, let's look back to look forwards.
Even back then, you wanted better results from your realestate.com.au listings. You wanted to move properties faster and get to your next big deal sooner. Look out, Y2K ahead. Phew. You also expected us to keep moving with the times by making every like, click, and swipe better than the last one. Sometimes we had to sprint to stay ahead with faster loads, bigger images, greater personalisation, and now AI. Which brings us to Next Gen, our next generation of listings. It's our ongoing commitment to getting you better results. That's more views, saves, inquiries, and inspections. And we're just getting started.
I love that video. I love that video, and the whistle stop tour it takes us on over 30 years of progress. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is still the same foundations that we've been leaning on over those 30 years, but the emphasis and the role they play in the experience is changing for you as an agent and as it is for our consumers. So let's unpack a little bit about what that means and why we've built our next gen listing experience in the way that we have. So to understand realestate.com.au, it's really important to understand our engagement funnel. Every month, we have the privilege of supporting 12 million Australians on realestate.com.au. They're Aussies that are coming to use our sites and our services, and they're spending a whopping 50 minutes on average every month consuming property-related content. It really is our most engaged audience of property seekers in the country. Every month, they're doing hundreds of millions of things. They're visiting, they're then running very specific searches and searching across multiple property dimensions and features, and they're using those searches to then drive listing views. They're getting to properties and they're in the properties spending an exponentially greater amount of time doing one job. And that job is looking at photos and consuming media content. Of all the things that realestate.com.au supports, image consumption, visual engagement is by far the most powerful driver of consumer experiences on our platform. So, this bit of context helps us understand that a lot of attention goes into photos, to videos, to floor plans, to the media content we generate. And a lot of that is coming from within our listings. So that's our big insight number one. The other major insight we've had is the role of our app and the way in which app and membership work hand in hand to drive significant levels of engagement for our audience. The app device is with you all the time. Our phones are with us, they're proximal, they're in our pockets. We use them for communication, we use them to receive notifications, we use them to understand what's going on in the world around us. And our apps are driving more and more of our digital engagement. And that's absolutely true for realestate.com.au. Our most engaged audiences and our deepest activity is being generated on the app. So for all of us on this call, as a customer, I would always encourage you to start understanding your campaign and to be checking your properties and your digital presence by looking at it through the app. Of those audiences, we know that they're significantly more likely to do things as well. They're more likely to inquire, they're more likely to be searching more frequently, they're going to generate more property views, and they're making more and more visits back into our experiences when they're using our apps. So for us, those two elements, listings and images, combined with our app and our membership, has made it a really clear opportunity for us to put our best foot forwards and redevelop our experience, optimizing on both fronts. So I'll now talk a bit about how we do that and the process we go on when building new products at realestate.com.au. We're always in a mode of testing and learning. We're very, very fortunate to receive a significant amount of feedback, lots of great engagement, and to hear from the industry and from our consumers, tons of new ideas and suggestions on how we could do better. We're fortunate to also run a number of programs that allow us to then formally test those ideas and test those new concepts directly with customers and with consumers. In this particular project for listings, we've tested with dozens and dozens of customers, running video engagement sessions, running feedback sessions to really help them guide what gets built and how it gets built. And our experimentation is now at a point where over 400 million experiments are being viewed every year, allowing us to really guide our product development to ensure that we're delivering not only fantastic consumer outcomes, but highly valuable customer benefits and customer connection into consumers. Why is that important? Because ultimately our job is to balance the needs of our consumers and our customers. So we want to be able to develop these new consumer experiences, take the best bits of listings and images, take the best bits of apps to really meet that consumer need, whilst at the same time helping our customers maximize that engagement and to build the best possible connection into those consumers and into those properties that are being listed. So that's the grounding that we go on as part of product development. Now for the exciting bit, I really want to share with you a vision of where we see the world going and what's got us so excited about the future of our listings experience. This is a visual that helps explain what we think is possible in listings moving forwards. We see a world where we're moving to a much more immersive, dynamic, visually rich experience that acts as a one-stop shop for that consumer's property search. They're able to interact in new ways. They're really able to understand the property and context about that property. And they're able to see a new view of that home like never before. This allows customers to put their best foot forwards through listings and to represent that property in the best possible way. We know that consumers value lots of information, and we know that they really embrace visual and rich media. So combining those two elements in our app is a very exciting signal of the direction we want to take. And so to get us on that journey, we've started over the last few months with a really, really unique new way of representing photos within listings. This has been the launch of our next gen listing experience, and this kicked off in late September and is already having an enormous impact, delivering bigger and better results like ever before for our campaigns. As a customer, I'm sure you're already seeing the new and exciting ways in which your imagery, your videos, all of your media, and your brand are being represented on listings. We've brought to the front a lot of the most valuable consumer engagement and consumer touch points, from saving to sharing to being able to inquire. We've also made some significant changes to how we lay out our imagery with tour the property, and we've added AI to that experience, allowing consumers to identify features of the home that may not always be obvious. And the results are talking for themselves. We're seeing some phenomenal uplift in areas of the experience that we care a lot about. So Tour the Property has delivered almost double the number of consumers viewing every single image in your campaigns. It's a 91% increase. It's more consumption than ever before of images and content via realestate.com.au. We're seeing a significant jump in shares. Property is a team sport. We had a lot of people working together with their partners, with friends and family to transact on property. And we know that sharing is a leading indicator of high engagement. We're seeing that jump significantly in the new experience. Time is being spent differently and in a much bigger way than ever before in the new experience. Plus, we're getting more and more of that focused attention on the stuff that really matters, such as floor plans. So more time, more attention, more engagement, and more action is what we're seeing from next gen listings so far. The best news, this is only the first of many releases planned to support our listings upgrade. These releases are not only being delivered on app, they're being delivered across all of our devices. And we'll be continually adding more and more value to this experience in the coming years. This is just the start point. This is just the tip of the iceberg for us. I'm now going to finish up with a couple of tips that allow you to make the most of this new era of listings on realestate.com.au. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these themes are very similar to those that you would have heard over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond of using realestate.com.au. Many of the fundamentals still stand, but the emphasis and importance of them is evolving. First and foremost, high quality visuals matter more than ever before. Imagery and video drive engagement. And we know that the more you do of the images and the more video you upload, the likelier chance you're going to get to increase the engagement and therefore the exposure for your listings. So we really encourage customers to be thinking a lot about shooting as much high quality content and bringing to life the property as best they can. Consumers are demanding more and more information. They're not just demanding it of us. We can see that they're turning to as many sources as possible to understand the property, particularly before they commit to attending an inspection. So ensuring you've got all of your information ready to go when you launch a campaign, that you've included things like pricing as much as possible. It's still the number one pain point for our consumers. They want more pricing information, and it erodes trust in their eyes when pricing information is not included. We want more floor plans. We know that only a quarter of rent listings, for example, include a floor plan. We think there's a significant opportunity to grow value by adding more of this foundational content, as well as property features. The more features you can include about your property, the more likely it's going to appear in broader search results and be something that consumers can use to quickly and better learn about what that property offers. Consumers are wanting to get to homes more than ever before. They're wanting to get to the front door. And as Tara talked about earlier, we want to help consumers build a digital relationship with you. But most importantly, we want to translate that digital relationship into a front door and face-to-face relationship. So ensuring you've got inspection and open home times listed is key. More than ever, shoes at the door is a leading indicator for consumers of their engagement and their interest in homes. And we see more and more willingness for consumers to go and visit those homes. Throughout a campaign, context can change. And more than ever before, with increased app usage, with increased membership, using our content to drive immediacy and urgency is a huge benefit for campaigns. If you get an offer, or if your rental is already, it's found the best tenant possible, you can communicate that context through the listing that's then going to get amplified by our notifications and by our other communications. So keep updating the campaign as it goes through. Remember, this is a dynamic record of the property transaction. And so consumers want to stay up to date and stay in touch with what's happening around that home. By saving and by engaging with the property, they will be receiving those notifications and any record of campaign change. So it's a great way to bring people back or to help them understand what's next needed to successfully transact or engage in the transaction for that home. And finally, prompt and personal. The job we're here to support is connecting your audience into you and the home. We want to make sure that when inquiries come through, you're able to put your best foot forwards and help the consumer with their questions and with great service. We're getting a lot of feedback from consumers lately that they're not receiving any response. And if they're receiving a response, it's often automated and generic. They expect the personal touch, particularly when they've gone to the trouble of talking about their needs or asking a question very specific to their requirements. And so we encourage you to use that inquiry opportunity to help build that digital relationship and help build trust between you and that consumer. We're now going to delve into a lot more detail about that connection point and inquiry. I'm going to hand over to Claire. I'll be around for Q&A later, and I really look forward to hearing Claire's update on where we're going with inquiry. Over to you, Claire.
Thanks, Jared, and good morning, everyone. My name is Claire Chadwick, and I'm here today to talk to you a bit about where we're heading with our inquiry experience. So we know that inquiries are critical to real estate transactions, and connecting consumers to agents has always been at the heart of what we do at realestate.com.au. Each year, we do send millions of email, phone, SMS, and inspection leads through to our agents and our agencies. And these connections are often the first contact a potential buyer, renter, seller, or investor has with an agent. And it's really the first opportunity you have to establish a really strong digital relationship. We know, though, that inquiries serve numerous purposes beyond just identifying those quality buyers or renters. They're really helping you to identify and build relationships with sellers as well and build that sales funnel momentum. They're also used to assess the success of a campaign and manage those expectations with your vendors or landlords. And they're used to help you build your agent profile and reputation. But we also know that agents and our consumers face a number of challenges with the current inquiry process. So a significant portion of inquiries come without key contact information or a message, which makes it really difficult for you as our agents to craft effective responses. And that just becomes more cumbersome and inefficient in your day-to-day. And for our consumers, 2/3 of them believe that they have to inquire about essential information that should already be on the listing. But more concerning is that 39% of buyers and 50% of renters either receive insufficient responses or no response at all, which is really driving a huge amount of low satisfaction and distrust. So we're on a journey to provide better quality inquiry experiences for both our agents and our consumers. And your feedback has really been helping us shape what these better experiences will look like. So what does better quality inquiry mean? Well, it means more contact details and more context in your inquiries, so you know who the inquirer is and how to effectively respond to them. And it means driving more potential buyers, renters, investors, and sellers from that digital relationship to a face-to-face relationship at an inspection. So let's talk through some of the details of this. So number one, providing more contact details. So what does this mean? Well, we want to help consumers inquire with confidence through really seamless digital experiences and strict data and privacy controls. We also want to facilitate a fair value exchange of that personal information between the consumer and our customers, the agents. And we're going to be making this an REA member-only experience because we know that our members are more engaged, which means more interactions with your properties and your brand. And we're doing this through two initiatives. The first is moving inquiries behind sign-in, and secondly, by introducing a consumer profile. So at the end of September, we moved inquiry behind sign-in. We trialled this across the country with both small and large agencies, both metro and regional, and across all states for both residential and developer listings before we launched it nationally. We did see a minimum drop in inquiry volume, and I know many of you have fed that back to us. But we've also seen a real improvement in inquiry quality with more high intent buyers and renters inquiring. And we've seen a 36% decrease in form misuse, which we know is a huge issue for some of you receiving that abusive or spam inquiries through our form. Off the back of our continuous research and feedback from our consumers that Jared talked to a bit earlier, next up, we're going to be introducing a new consumer profile on our experience. So this will allow our consumers to store their data centrally and include transparent and strict privacy and consent controls over how, where, and when this data is used. It also means they'll be able to connect with agents and share their contact details quickly and seamlessly across any realestate.com.au experience, whether that's through an inquiry or registering to attend an inspection. And you'll start to see this in our experiences from around January. So number two, more context in your inquiry. So over the next few months, we're going to be experimenting with our inquiry form to ensure you start to get more context. Currently, only 44% of buyer inquiries and 33% of rent inquiries actually include a message, which we know makes it really difficult for you to respond to. But fortunately, we also know that over half our consumers are willing to share personal information, such as contact details, property criteria, their budget, and their time frame, which really helps them ensure that they stand out as a quality lead. So our aim is to provide you with higher quality inquiries by incorporating more of this context in the message and more detailed background criteria of the inquirer. This is really going to help you service your inquiries better and respond effectively. However, I do want to call out that our consumers have strong privacy concerns and they're cautious about sharing information unless it directly contributes to their property search and their goals. They really do expect no unnecessary marketing or follow-up communications that are not relevant to the property they're inquiring about, and they expect a response. Really simple and really easy to do. And it goes a long way in establishing a strong relationship with that consumer right from the front foot. And finally, we're going to make inquiry better by helping move those digital relationships through to a face-to-face in our inspection experiences. So currently, 35% of buy inquiries and 82% of rental inquiries are about inspections. So we're going to make it as easy as possible for our consumers to find an inspection time on a listing, register to attend it, or request a private inspection. All of your inspection leads and inquiries, some of which are also sellers, don't forget, will also include all of the contact details and background context that I've just mentioned, so you're as informed as possible when they show up at the door. And that's it from me. I hope you're excited about how much better inquiries are going to be in the next few months. Tara is now going to talk about how to navigate this increasingly privacy-conscious world and ensure that all this rich data and personal information that we're going to be sending you is used responsibly.
Thanks so much, Claire. I really appreciate it. That was fantastic. And it was a perfect lead-in into something like this, because this really is about people becoming more privacy conscious in this world. And so you really need to be thinking not only how am I going to protect my client's data, but how am I going to protect my reputation at the same time? With tightening privacy regulations and over 76% of Australians experiencing harm from a data breach, consumer expectations around data usage and management are shifting. According to the 2024 Property Seeker Report, 51% of sellers find it important to choose a real estate agent that handles their data responsibly. So for our industry, which is not always in the highest of the trusted categories, and handling consumer data, data privacy isn't just a compliance issue, it's a trust issue. And so some of the things you've already heard that we've put into place at realestate.com.au are happening. And we've got some best practices and some of the things that you might be able to take away as well with some tips for you. The first one is being upfront about how you're going to use their data. So the first time you receive buyer and renter data is usually when they send through that inquiry through realestate.com.au or it's at an inspection. At this point, you can inform them exactly how that data is going to be used. So a tip is to communicate the benefits of how that you're going to use that data. As you probably heard Claire say, she said, if they feel like they're getting value, they are more likely to hand over information. And so what is it that's going to happen when they give you their information? Does that mean that they're going to get personalized information being sent to them? Are they going to be kept up to date on new listings? Maybe personalized property suggestions? So really think about what that looks like and let them know what's in it for them. At REA, we've built this out with a simplified privacy center. And so we've removed all of that legal jargon that nobody really understands. And we're trying to be more transparent about how we use that data. Number two, let them manage how they want to hear from you. So buyers, renters, sellers, investors, let them manage how they want to hear from you. 84% of Australians want more control and choice over how businesses collect and use their information. So give them the ability to stop hearing from you. Consumers are complaining more about unwanted communications. And although the updated privacy regulations aren't as rigid as we might have first expected, regulators are still starting to investigate consumer claims more. So letting clients manage how they want to hear from you will both address their needs and minimize the risk of those data breaches. So a tip from us, implement a user-friendly preference center where clients can easily update their contact preferences. Some of the ways that we're supporting that at REA, users can easily access a preference center and change preferences on emails and notifications that we send to them. And the final one is, when should data be deleted? Follow data retention rules and safely delete any unnecessary information once the deal is complete. The key here is disposing of valueless information regularly. So a tip from us, after closing a sale, securely delete all non-essential client information from your system and keep only what's legally required. And really, this is on you also as an individual, not even if you're if you're a principal, obviously this goes agency-wide, but if you're an individual, really thinking about about how you manage some of that data that's coming in as well is just as important as how the agency manages it. For REA, well, the way that we're supporting that, realestate.com.au currently limits access to uploaded documents in a rental application to 21 days and deletes rental applications after 3 months. We also have a retention policy that defines how long we hold data, which will soon be published in your privacy policy. And coming soon, but not yet, there's going to be a privacy page where you're going to be able to learn more. So keep your eyes out on that customer marketing center at customer.realestate.com.au for more updates as to how you can set your brand up for success in a privacy conscious world. The thing is this. Consumers can't see what's happening to their data and they don't like surprises. Nearly 90% of Australians have been involved in some sort of data misuse at some level, and almost half of us have experienced harm as a result. So providing those consumers transparency and control so they have options and choices on how and where that data is used is paramount to trust. So really think about the ways that you are giving consumers that choice moving forward. Now, we've had some great information from both Claire and Jared today, speaking on Next Gen, how it's creating a better experience for people and connecting you. We've listened to Claire talk to us about why better inquiry is a big deal. And we've listened to customers across the country who have asked for those more enriched inquiries. So let's have a Q&A or see if there's anything in the Q&A that's out there. I did see one come in already. That was, what was the percentage of listings that included and didn't include a floor plan, please? Jared, I think you had some info on that, maybe?
Yeah, it's an important one and one we look at regularly. So for floor plans, we see that in rent, so rent specifically, our coverage is still only about 25% of listings. Now, a few years ago, it was in the teens. So we've done a great job as an industry of including more and more floor plans for rentals. But that's still 75% of listings that don't have what is one of the most valued parts of the consumer experience. So if you are taking a rental to market, if you're about to launch a campaign, as much as possible, we encourage you to include a floor plan on your rental.
That's a great number, isn't it, to be able to take back to your landlords and say, hey, this is why it's so important, and this is really going to keep us top of mind. I see a few people are starting to leave. Please stay on if you can, because we will have a poll at the end. A couple ones, sorry, Jared, you're still on the hook. A couple ones for you. I mostly use my laptop when I'm using realestate.com.au. When will we start to see Next Gen on web?
Again, really, really good question. And we've definitely optimized for app and been deliberate about our app strategy on this one for all the reasons that I took you through, that's where our most engaged property seekers are and where more and more of our engagement's occurring. So app is leading us at the moment, but over the coming months, we'll be doing a lot of work to ensure that all of the features and benefits you see in app are also available in web. Still an extremely important channel to us. And as much as possible, we want to ensure that the campaign experience is optimized for all of the platforms that we support. So we'll continue to lead with app and make sure the app engagement is exactly where we need it to be. But at the same time, we're also working hard to ensure that all of our features are included in web and that those two experiences stay as optimized as possible on customer value.
And there was another Next Gen one. And how long will it take realestate.com.au to finish Next Gen listings? Oh, that's a good question.
It is a great question and a never-ending pursuit in my mind. We are going through a phase of really focused value delivery in listings, and that phase will continue for at least I'd say the next 12 months. But beyond that, we'll always be optimizing and improving the experience and making a lot of changes to listings as we go, because we know they play such an important role for our consumers and our customers. So it's a never-ending continuation for me. That said, you will see a lot of change and even more change in the next 6 to 12 months than we've seen already. So expect lots of updates from us and lots more value to be coming out of our listing experience in the near term.
Awesome. Don't go far because Jackie's got a question for you, but first I'm going to throw to Claire. 82% of rental inquiries were about inspection times. Can you tell us how many of those had inspection times listed and why are they so high?
Great question. Why is it so high? Well, because only 60% of our listings ever have an inspection time on it. It means 40% never have an inspection time listed. And so consumers are having to use the inquiry form to request a private inspection. We do know that it's much higher on auction campaigns, but they only account for about 15% of campaigns on our site. So the majority of campaigns are private sales, majority only 60% have an inspection time. So consumers are really having to try and find a way to connect to an agent and find out when they can come and inspect the property. So we're trying to make that as easy as possible. But we do encourage you to include an inspection time because we know that consumers love to tell you they're coming.
Excellent. And before you run away, where will I see the context for inquiries in my CRM? And what do you mean by trialing it first?
Yes, so all of the additional consumer information, so their contact details and that background context and the message which I talked through, which we're trying to encourage them to include in their inquiry, will be available in your CRM via the Leads API. So if you're not connected to our Leads API and you still use basic inquiry emails or scraping and parsing of our emails, you won't be able to collect this new information. It's just not secure enough for us to be able to send all that data. And our consumers, as we've told you, are really conscious of how that data is used. So it will only be available in our Leads API. And if you're not connected to that, I encourage you to check out REA's partner platform. It's free, really easy to hook into or log into Ignite. That's the other place you will be able to access it. So
Great.
really easy.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. Jared, come back because we have a question. Do floor plans get removed once properties are rented or sold?
Really good question again. They stick with the property record. We don't use them in all of our experiences, but if a property moves to, say, the sold section, they are still available there. So yes, there is a record of the floor plan that can be retained, but isn't used everywhere. Regardless of the floor plan experience after the campaign, we still encourage everyone as much as possible to ensure those floor plans are there in the campaign, particularly from day one. We often see campaigns adding floor plans over time. It's those first few days when the campaign launches that you often get the most attention, and being ready for that audience and ready for all of that engagement from day one is mission critical.
Fantastic.